Hi, I'm Val and welcome to my channel. I've got a few things to show you today. It's just a little roundup of stuff I've been up to, and I'm going to start with Anne Wood's Stitchbook Challenge. I did this for the first time last year and really enjoyed it. And if you've not come across it before, it's a challenge that a textile artist called Anne Wood sets, and you can join in. It's free to join in, and you post your pictures on Instagram, or you can just make it. You don't need to post if that's not you. And you just commit to stitching a minimum of 15 minutes a day for 100 days, which seems a huge amount when you start, but it soon goes by. And your pages are, I think it's 7 inches by 5.5 inches. And it's very manageable because you're stitching for such a small amount of time over the day. You can do more if you want, but a minimum of 15 minutes. This is the book that getting caught up, that I produced last year. And some of the pages, they're a mix really. Some of them are just, I've just literally taken a piece of fabric, sewn it down, taken another one the next day, sewn it down and seen what turns up. Other pages were planned a bit more, like this one where I used some printing stamps and stamped flowers onto a page and then embroidered on those. They're not in the order that I sewed these pages. I just mixed them up entirely. They're just a complete mix of styles really, just whatever occurred to me to do on that particular day. An awful lot of seed stitching in that one. I quite like doing that one though. That one I really like. It reminds me of a summer's day. And those were little printing stamps of dragonflies that I stamped on. Little bits of sari silk there and a shisha mirror. That one was inspired by sashiko stitching. And some nice gingham there. That one I like. Very fond of pink, so I like that. And that's another favourite, those beetles. I made some little printing stamps of beetles. I've got some die cuts of beetles, and I stamped them out in craft foam and made printing stamps of them, stamped them on there, and then embroidered over those. There's some sari silk there and some little beads added on. So yeah, that was really good fun. That was a Jessie Chorley pattern on the back I made for my back cover. So I've decided to do that this year. This is the first page, so we're on day 4 now, and this was inspired by a Jessie Chorley pattern where I went to an exhibition of her stuff in Harrogate, the knitting and stitching show, and she made some applique trees that I really liked. So my first page of the stitch book is based on one of her trees. So that I'm up to. Right, what else can I show you? I have my list here to my side. Yes, baskets and stitched vessels. So I've been making a few baskets lately. I'll show you some examples of them and then show you the one I've been working on more recently. This is one that I've made. These are some fabric postcards that I did, and then I've sewn 3 of them together to make the sides. There's 2 circles of fabric with some cardboard sandwiched between to make the base. So that's one of them I've made. This is another. This one I really like the colours of this. Again, this is sort of sashiko stitching inspired and borrow inspired. And I've got one more. Oh, I've got a couple more to show you. This one is another basket. That's upholstery fabric for the sides. I had some samples from a sample book. It's got a little brooch on the front that's been pinned on, made from a kilt pin. And this is another one. This was originally going to be a rice bag, but this kind of turned into a little sort of basket. So this is just 4 squares for the sides and square for the base and some lining. And that makes quite a nice little basket. So the reason I'm showing you those is this one that I made. I've been watching an awful lot of videos on YouTube by Ariane Zurcher. If you've not come across her, she's an amazing textile artist. And she does a huge amount of embroidery, and it's really beautiful, and I love it. And she's made some stitched vessels, really elaborate, beautiful things. And this is my very modest attempt at an Ariane Zurcher style stitched vessel. So it's white cotton material that I painted with Inktense and then stenciled on it with acrylic. And then I've made it into this basket shape and I've embroidered into it and added some sari silk. This bit I particularly like. I don't know why, something about the colours really appeals to me, even though I don't usually like sort of greens and yellows and orange. Yeah, this side I'm less happy with, but with all these things, they're a learning experience. You're learning something by making them, and then you take that learning into the next thing that you make. With this, I was trying to shape it as well, because the other baskets I made, they are straight-sided. With this one, I wanted to try and give it some more shape. So I made these kind of little pleats in here, but it's quite wonky. It didn't quite work out the shape I wanted, but as I say, you learn from making these things. So that has led me on to trying to make a larger version. So this is where I've got to so far, and it's a long rectangle of calico, and then I've got this material on here, and I think this is a linen shirt that I cut up. It was a shirt I had that I really loved, but I never wore it because no matter how carefully you iron linen, 5 minutes after you put it on, it looks like a dish rag. It just does. It's a beautiful material, but it's so crumply when it comes to clothing. So I cut it up and I painted it again with Inktense and acrylic and stenciled on there. And then I've going to assemble this. So if I can show you. I've been embroidering into it, adding things like these silk cocoons. There's a bit of silk carrier rod there. There's some wool there that I've couched down. A bit of metal chain from a broken necklace, little metal ring. There's beads on here. There's lots of French knots. That's a Steph Francis thread, which after watching one of Ariane's videos, I understood that you could ruche this thread. You could put a thread through the centre of it, put a needle and thread through the centre, and then ruche it all up. So I don't know, is this staying in focus? Hopefully it is. There's a bit of sari there that I added, a bit more sari silk there, and beads, various types, and that's a little metal ring that I've stitched, woven material around. Yeah, so that's that. And I have been trying to shape this by either putting pleats in it or putting darts in it to kind of make it into a shape that I want, but I don't know, I'm not succeeding so far. The back of it, I'll show you the back, it's going to have to be lined, and I think I might need to put some interfacing in there as well to make sure that it stands up. So it'll be quite a large kind of stitch vessel, basket, whatever you want to call it, when I've got it made. And I wanted to show you these little fabric clusters, as I'm calling them. If you're thinking about a large project like this, it can be a bit daunting if you get this large piece of material and you're thinking, well, where do I start? And it can kind of put you off before you begin. But if you start in a small way, and the way I started with this project was I made these little, what I call fabric clusters, and you just get an embroidery hoop and some material and put it in your hoop, and then you can stitch away, just doing anything and everything in that small confined space. And because it is a small space, then you're not feeling daunted by it. And yeah, quite pleased with how that one turned out. This one I'm still working on. These are more sort of autumnal kind of colours. There's another of those silk cocoons. I got those from Steph Francis, and she dyes them these amazing colours. That's another silk carrier rod. I think I had to paint the end of it because it was white at the end, so I painted it with a bit of Inktense. There's some more wool there that's been couched down, and that's sari silk. And there's beads, and yeah, it's not bad. So yeah, that's really my point about those, is if you're starting a large project, then sometimes starting it small can be really helpful. And with those, I've then taken them off the hoop and then applied them here, just sewn them on. So that's going quite well. I'm quite pleased with that. Now, the other thing, I think I said here that, yeah, I said here that there were metal rings on here, and occasionally I've added material, wound, sorry, get my words mixed up, that I've wound thread around them. And I'll show you some little metal rings I've been playing around with. These came from a bracelet. I took the bracelet apart. It was a charity shop one, so I didn't pay very much for it at all. And between the beads were these as kind of spacers, so you can wind thread around those. The other thing, let me reach over. I've been looking out. See, my first instinct is if I want metal rings to go to Amazon and order something. But actually, if you keep your eyes peeled, it's amazing what you can find on the pavement. And I'm not too proud to pick things up. So I found these various ones out when I was walking. I'm going to try wrapping thread around those, or the large ones. You might even wrap fabric around those. And then you can embroider them, sew them onto your embroidery. Add little details to whatever textile work you're doing. And the other thing, this I found in a charity shop as well. I mean, to my eyes, that's quite an ugly necklace. Paid £2 for it. But what you're looking at here is not so much the style of necklace as something you might wear. It's more the beads that are included on it. And I was looking at these rings, and I can take this apart and use these rings, either sew that down as it is, or with these, I can wrap around those and create something I think rather nice, hopefully. Yeah, I don't particularly like the wooden beads. I like paint over those. There are some bead caps as well, which are quite useful. I'll hang on to those. Oops, getting caught up there. What else? Yes, there was one more thing I want to show you. Thread, floss, whatever you call it. We've all got lots of these skeins of thread. And I don't know about you, but I don't find it very helpful to leave them like this, because I tend to pull the wrong end out of these skeins and then get all in a tangle and make a mess of them and get them in knots. So I like to wind them onto some kind of spool. Let me get these little things out of here while I'm talking. Yep, so these plastic spools, and I have bought a few of these, but like most people, I don't want to keep buying plastic. We've all got enough plastic in our homes. And see, it just seems wrong for something to come all the way from China. You know, I don't want to import more plastic, basically. So I've been looking at other ways to get the thread off these skeins and into some kind of state I find it easier to use. Now, you can use empty cotton reels. These wooden ones are especially handsome looking. You can wind your thread around those. But those aren't always the easiest thing to store so that you can see your colours. And I've tried dolly pegs as well, and the threads, they work quite well on those, and they do look quite handsome. The other thing I came across recently was, it's a video by, I think her name is Katie or KJ Turner. I'll put it in the description box below, I'll find the video. But she did a short video about how she stores her threads, and she stores them on paper. And what she does is you get a 3-inch square of paper, any old paper, it doesn't need to be anything fancy, and you just wind it round, and then you do a little notch in it at the top. Oops, try not to cut my fingers. There we go. And then you just wind your thread around that. So you put the thread end through the notch and then wind it around, and you end up with your thread on a little paper spool. If you wanted to keep the number or the make or anything that's on the label, you could always write it on there. But she showed her thread stored like this on these paper spools, and it works really well. So I've been winding my threads onto paper. It's a good use of scrap paper, and it does save on the plastic. So that's one idea that I will definitely be carrying on with. So I think that is all for today. It's a bit of a quick whiz through, but I would definitely recommend, if you haven't done it already, start Anne Wood's 100-day challenge. If you go to her website, which is something like annewoodblog.com, or I'll put it in the description, but it's so easy. You just put her name in a search engine and it will come up, and it'll give you details about the challenge. So thank you for listening to me, and if you can give me a like or leave a comment, that would be absolutely brilliant. So thanks for your time, and goodbye for now.